Hi, Debbie Lichter here with the Congruence Code and Free from Food Addiction. And today we're talking about 3 signs to tell if you have an addiction. And I'm not just talking about food addiction, I'm talking about any addiction. You can really use these 3 tips to start to identify, to start to get some clarity around if what you have going on is a real addiction. Because there's a difference. A lot of people will walk around and they'll say, I've got this bad habit, or I have this obsession, or I have this self-sabotaging pattern. And it's really important to understand what makes an addiction an addiction. So the first thing I want to share is what an addiction is. So an addiction is anything that we do to try and distract or numb ourselves from an underlying discomfort and dis-ease that when we try to stop doing, we find that we can't. So you can think about any of the things, the way that you watch TV, your relationship with coffee, your relationship with food, your relationship with your image management, with people pleasing. There's so many things that we do that are trying to distract or numb us from an underlying sense of discomfort and dis-ease that when we say, gosh, I got to stop doing that, we find that we can't. And so here's 3 things that you can look out for to just start to identify. And I want to be really, really clear and make this huge, great big, huge disclaimer that I am not diagnosing anybody who is listening to this right now with an addiction or with not an addiction. Okay? I actually personally believe, and I have experienced many times over, that the most important thing is that each person uncover their own truth and that you do it through your own experience. That's why whenever I'm guiding someone through on their path of freedom, I always guide them through a 6-step self-diagnostic process so that they can uncover their truth. They can fully get what that means for them. They can look at their own experience and really evaluate what that means for them, if that's true for them. And then if it is true, then they can fully dive into the integrated solution so they can have freedom. Because if you don't have an addiction, then you don't need to do some of the things that somebody who has an addiction needs to do. And likewise, if you do have an addiction and you are trying to fix it with just like some lifestyle changes or just some mindset changes because you're looking at other people who just have a bad habit and you're wanting to do the same thing, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna continue to hit yourself up against a wall or bash your head against a wall or feel like you're bashing your head against a wall, and it's gonna be real frustrating. It might bring up shame, it might bring up embarrassment, might bring up a lot of judgment or guilt. So it's really important to know what your truth is. So I want to help you with just these 3 tips to get you on that path. And I will leave a link below if you want to get more clarity, if you're like, this is ringing true for me and I actually really want to make a plan for what my next steps are on how to actually be free of all this stuff, because I can tell that I'm doing those things and I don't want to be doing that anymore. I just want to be free already and not be wasting all this time and energy and life force wrapped up with trying to get things under control with this addictive pattern. So the first tip, the first thing that you want to look out for is really on a physical level. So it's when you start to engage, whether it's eating or drinking or texting or, whatever the thing is that you're doing, looking at porn or, whatever the thing is that you're doing, watching TV, that once you start doing it, you don't want to stop or you find that you can't stop. So this was me with Netflix for a really long time, where I would say, okay, I'm just going to watch one show, and then they hook you, right? I mean, they're so good. They feed into our addictions, those shows do. But then I'd say, okay, well then maybe I should have another one. Maybe I should do another one. And, before you know it, I mean, you probably know just as well as I do, if you're listening to this, like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours can just get hijacked because you're watching these back-to-back episodes. And that's when I really had to sit back and realize, gosh, something else takes over. I just don't want to stop. I intend to not do that, but then once I start, I'm in it. I don't want to stop. So that's the first thing. I've done that with food. I've done that with work. I've done that with tons and tons of things, drugs, tons and tons of things. So that's the first thing you want to look out for, is what happens on a physical level once you start engaging with that thing. The next thing you want to look at is your mind. So do you have this mental thing that happens where you sort of like in the moment, right before you're going to engage with that thing, like for me with the back to the Netflix, it's like, I'm not planning to watch another one, and then it comes to the end of the episode, and then all of a sudden a little justification or rationalization comes in, like, oh, well, you worked really hard today. Oh, well, it's just one more. Oh, it's going to be okay. Oh, it'll just be a late night. Oh, you'll just be tired tomorrow. Oh, blah, 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 whatever it is. Comes up with some kind of rationalization or justification for why it's perfectly reasonable in that moment to go ahead and continue or to go back to the thing. And this tricky little, head game that happens, this comes up like, let's say that you're staying away from sugar. You're like, sugar is just a big no in my world. As soon as I start having a little bit of sugar, I just can't stop, or it's chocolate, or it's alcohol, or whatever, you get it. And so you do really well for a week. You're doing really good. And then that little voice starts. Well, maybe you can just have one. Well, maybe you've got it under control. Maybe it's going to be different this time. And you somehow justify going back to that behavior, that pattern. I used to do this with relationships all the time, with those codependent, love-addicted relationships, where it was like, okay, I'm just gonna be good. I'm not gonna text again. And then I would receive a text, and then I would get I'd get an adrenaline hit. I'd get an adrenaline hit from that, and my heart would be pounding, and I'd be thinking about it and obsessing about it, and not being able to really focus on anything else, and then trying to be good and not look at it and not do anything about it, and it was just, I was hooked. So it can come up in all these different ways. But so just notice that. Do you have that mental thing that happens? And it sometimes, like a long period of time can commence, but then that mental thing comes back. So that could be a few hours or a few days or a few weeks or a few years. But then there's this little voice. And then it takes us right back to the pattern. So notice that for you. And the final tip, just as you're starting to get clarity about, hey, do I have an addiction? What does this mean? What's Deb talking about here? The final thing is, if you have so much to be grateful for in your life, if you're the kind of person that's like, I've got so much to be grateful for, I've got this happening, and I've got a great, whatever it is, a great family or a great job or a great relationship, or I just have so much to live for, or I really want to make such a big difference in the world, whatever that is for you. But if you just feel like, gosh, I've got so much to be grateful for, or hey, just the fact that I woke up and I'm breathing, and the fact that I had hot water in my shower this morning, and I had a warm bed to sleep in, like, I'm grateful for that. I've got so much to be grateful for. And yet, I still go back and do this thing, even though I know it sabotages my ability to really enjoy the fullness of my life. So if that happens for you too, if you notice you've got so much to be grateful for, but you're not able to fully enjoy it, you don't feel like you're living your life. You feel like there's this world that's happening and this life that's happening, it's unfolding, but like you're somehow displaced from it, or separated from it, or separated from others, or that you just didn't get the playbook of life someday, they pass it out in, Earth school, and you just didn't get a copy, and you're kind of like, I don't get it. I don't know how to do life here, and you're kind of trying to figure it out as you go along. Yeah, so those are all indications that you might have an addiction. So here's the good news. If you related to any or all of those, I'm so excited to tell you that you can be free. That doesn't have to be your story. In fact, my favorite thing with people is not focusing on the problem, but actually really getting you in contact with the solution. Because you can truly be free, you can feel comfortable in your own skin, you can have the confidence to put yourself out there, you can be present, you can be connected in your relationships, you can feel your feelings, whatever it is that you feel like you want, you can go out there and you can do that. You do not have to live with this. This does not need to define you. And so I want to really leave you with this, that getting honest about whether or not you have an addiction does not mean that that addiction defines you. In fact, honesty is the foundation of freedom. And so if freedom is what you truly, truly want, then honesty is where you need to start, and that is what you are getting here. And if you want to take it that next step and really get clear on what those steps are for you, what that plan is for you, so that you can truly ultimately experience freedom now, then I will leave a link below to hop on a call with me, because this is what I love to do. I've been put on this earth to do this, to really guide folks to their freedom and beyond, right? Because your life begins beyond addiction. Anything that you have accomplished, anything that you've done, it's like great, and you have no idea how good it can be. And so I simply have been put on this earth to support you in getting that next level of freedom, fully coming into your congruent, authentic self, so you can go out and light up all the people that you are here to inspire. So if that sounds exciting to you, if that's something that you want, then just check out the link below. I will leave it there, and I really look forward to connecting more with you, because I have never met a person who struggles with any addiction who is not on this earth because they are meant to do something big. They're meant for a massive reason and to help a lot of people. I have not met one. And so I look forward to meeting you, because I know that you're pretty special, and I want to help you to remember that. So thanks again for taking this time out, spending it with me. I hope it was valuable for you. I certainly enjoyed being here with you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend who you think could use this message too. If you like this video and you want to see more, please do subscribe, and I will connect with you next Wednesday with a fresh new video. Bye for now.